Hi, folks. This is Evan Quiring, the creator of Lucha Mystery and Murder City Devil, and you are listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Evan Quiring about his two comic book series, Murder City Devil and Lucha Mystery from Studiocomix Press. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Evan Quiring has been working in the indie comic scene since 2002. In addition to being the writer and artist on Psyclone Comic Studios' Lucha Mystery and Murder City Devil, he's done artwork for various publishers, including Cosmic Lion Productions, Antarctic Press, TidalWave Productions, Heroic Publishing, Dynamite Entertainment, Alternative Comics, Scattered Comics, Red Eye Press, Ronin Studios, Markosia, Sugar Skull Media, Hyperverse Comics, Temporal Comics, Manor Media, and Big Bang Comics. The story of Murder City Devil goes like this. In 1996, a dark entity was released from an old abandoned funeral home. 25 years later, legendary boogeyman Spring-Heeled Jack appears to exact revenge on Murder City's criminal underworld. As for the story of Lucha Mystery, two luchadors are sent to wrestle a match in a small town in Southern California. Unbeknownst to them, their destination is in actuality an abandoned prison town overrun by zombies, flying saucers, and a beautiful but deadly space queen. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Evan Quiring about his two comic book series, Murder City Devil and Lucha Mystery from Studiocomix Press. So, Evan Quiring, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
All right. Thank you, John.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
First comic that I read would have been probably a Marvel team-up with Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, where I tried to read it because I couldn't, I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I guess, first comic would have been a reprint of Avengers Annual number 7, where the Avengers and Spider-Man and the Thing fight Thanos, and Adam Warlock's in it. And that would have been the first. I was about 6 years old, so I could just learned how to read. So yeah, that would have been Warlock number 5, I guess, or whatever.
Wow, that's a good one to start with. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Great stuff when you're a youngster, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
I've had these stories for years that I've wanted to just produce, and like I write and draw my own books. So I guess it'd probably be like back in the 80s, like I guess what influenced me would have been like the Spider-Man comics, like the more crime ones, like Web of Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man, like The Death of Jean DeWolf. I guess on TV, like watching Unsolved Mysteries. So I guess for like a 9-year-old kid, it was kind of like heavy stuff, but I just wanted to, I don't know, that kind of inspired me, just that I wanted to write a interesting kind of crime story.
Cool. Yeah, lots of good stuff there. And definitely I can see the illusions. You've given me some preview copies to take a look at before our conversation. So I definitely see those aspects in your series books that you're doing right now called Murder City Devil and Lucha Mystery. I wonder if you could describe both of those stories for someone who's not familiar with them.
Murder City Devil is, I take the idea of the boogeyman named Spring-Heeled Jack. He's from the 1880s, from like England. And if he was resurrected in the 21st century, he's like an anti-hero that takes on the local mob and has interactions with other cryptids or mysterious people like the Mothman and the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, and takes on like some real world criminals as well. And I just was always fascinated by stories like that, like I said before, like stuff like from Unsolved Mysteries. So just thought that would make an interesting book, just if all these people were in the same city and what would happen with that. But with Murder City Devil, I was kind of making it like the question, what would you do if you were granted these powers? Also, but with these like demonic powers he has like some weaknesses. Like he can't go on holy ground, or he can't see a crucifix. Kind of like Dracula, like he can't be near like holy ground, or he can't look at a crucifix or whatever. So I gave him some weaknesses there. But yeah, I just kind of want to explore that kind of idea. And for me personally, it was if I had like these kind of powers, the first thing I would do, like being in Winnipeg, like there's high crime right here. It's kind of like a product of my environment. I don't know if it is in Ontario, but a lot of turnaround. If some SA offenders or something like that, like they're jailed, but then they're released right away. I don't know if you have that in Ontario, but a lot of times I'll like check the news and it's like, oh, this criminal or what have you is like did some horrible things and is now being released and is going to be living in or near Winnipeg. And then the thing that always gets me is that they're at a high risk to reoffend. That's kind of like with Murder City Devils, like a social statement in a lot of ways, because it also tackles not just crime, but also tackles prejudice, racism. You don't see it like right on the surface, but once you read the book, the themes are there. So I try not to be too preachy with that, though. Lucha Mystery is my love letter to B movies and Lucha Libre films from like the 1960s. I'm a big fan of like Ed Wood movies. I just wanted to do a more of a fun comic like that. I guess if I could like relate it to music, like Lucha Mystery would be like early 60s surf music, like Dick Dale and like Link Ray, just like fun stuff. And I guess Murder City Devil would be more like early 80s goth kind of music. So.
That's cool. Yeah, I could definitely see that there's a unique wrestling aspect to Lucha Mystery. You have to be a big wrestling fan,
Yeah.
specific wrestling fan, I guess, to not read the books, but inspired you to create them, I guess, right? Is what I'm saying.
Like I mean, yeah, Lucha Mystery. Like, what really inspired me was like I guess here in Winnipeg, like we had a video store called like Movie Village, and they'd have like all these like B movies that like no one rented, right? And I like old monster movies, so they'd have these Lucha Libre movies with like El Santo and like Blue Demon. So I just like rent them, and it was just like, oh, like this is discovering this kind of treasure of like pop culture kind of stuff or pop subculture, I guess. And yeah, I just got inspired by that. And it's also like fun stuff to draw.
Now, I noticed on the books you have a PG-13 label. So I wanted to ask you, who is your target audiences for these books?
With the PG-13, it's not for small kids, my books, but for, like say, I guess like I think a 9-year-old, 10-year-old could probably, they have like the emotional intelligence to handle this stuff. It's kind of like cheesecake kind of books and not to be taken super seriously. But just in case if some people are, have a problem with it, I just put like PG-13. There's no like super adult themes, but sometimes, it's just in case I just have it there. So
Right. Well, there's definitely a bit of violence going on, that's for sure.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm just, well, okay, it's like PG-13, read at your own risk. But I mean, really, I think it should, like, again, I'm also like, I'm not a parent, so I have like no idea. But I mean, I have cousins or my cousins have like kids and they, read, more mature stuff and they're like at a younger age. So I don't know, so I'm just like, okay, I'll leave it at PG-13. Murder City Devil is like, as far as I know, supposed to have an R rating because that deals with some really extreme subjects. I don't show like stuff gratuitously. Well, maybe the violence, but the sexuality I don't show gratuitously or try not to anyways. But I also kind of want to have the emphasis of there, like the severity of the stories. Because I mean, it is a crime comic after all. So I try to leave that as an R because I just in good conscience would not want to have like a kid reading this. So it's like not until you're 16 or whatever. So
I'd like to switch gears a wee bit and talk about your creative process. If you could walk me through how you create your books.
Lucha Mystery and Murder City Devil, all my stories are beginning, middle, end. Like there will be an end to the series. So Murder City Devil's about 12 issues. So I'm on issue 5 right now. Lucha Mysteries, I've plotted out about 30 issues, but I think I'm just going to trim it down to maybe about 12 or 15. So, and I'm on like issue 3, so I may even trim it down to more there. So how I started off is that I do everything like in point form. So it's like, okay, Spring Heel Jack comes back to the 21st century. He's an urban legend. People call him the Murder City Devil because that's the nickname of the city. I just have it like, okay, what happens? And just figure out, okay, so what do I have him? Who does he interact with? And then, I pick like the villains or what have you, or his supporting cast and like how he interacts with that, or how his alter ego adjusts to life with these new powers and what have you. And also for subplots. So I plot everything from like beginning, middle, end, and then trim it down to like, okay, so issue 1, this happens. Then issue 2, this happens. Issue 3, this happens. Again, just do everything point form. Try to keep it as simple as possible. And then the next 12 issues plotted out. And of course, as time goes on, I may change them because I might get a better idea or what have you, or something might have to edit something. So then I'll focus on issue 1. I'll lay it out just on like regular typing paper, like just do regular sketches and, of like, okay, 22 pages, what happens on page 1, what happens on page 2. And at the same time, I'll be doing my layouts, like really rough layouts. And then once I get that, I'll like do very rough dialogue. And again, like I'm writing for myself, like I don't have to explain it to like a penciler because I'm the penciler. I kind of can get rid of some steps that way. And then once I have everything like plot laid out, then I'll just take a piece of 11 by 17 2-ply bristle board and just start penciling it and then tighten up the pencils a bit. But again, since I'm the one also inking it, I don't have to pencil as tightly as if I was inking for someone else. Then I do the pencils. A thing for me is like I'll put up my pages on a wall and just sort of go through it just to make sure the flow makes sense, because there's a lot of times like I'll have a character that's say like pointing a gun with his right hand, but then for some reason the next panel he's like it's in his left hand. So it's like okay, I'm kind of a stickler for continuity, so I try my best to keep it tight without losing the impact or the drama or the rhythm. So once I got everything penciled out, I'll ink it, and I'll also letter it in Adobe Illustrator. So I'll have the dialogue. And a lot of times while I'm lettering, I'll be like, okay, this line doesn't work, or this, I have a better line or a better punchline or something like that, better phrase. A lot of times I'll do like a self-edit while I'm lettering. And then at the same time while I'm doing that, I'll send the inked pages to Diego Vasquez. He lives in Mexico City. I've been working with him since 2018. And so he colors both Murder City Devil and Lucha Mystery. So I'll send him the colors. He's just a joy to work with, and he's just an amazing colorist. And, I'll send stuff back. And about 90% of the time, I don't have to make a correction for him or say, oh, change this, because pretty much hits the mark every time. And then once I get all the color pages and then I'm still lettering, and then I'll do like one final draft kind of thing. And then, I'll get like a friend or someone to read it over so I don't have spelling mistakes, or at least the grammar is kind of correct. And also if this story, the dialogue makes sense, because I've been working on it so long, like I need a fresh set of eyes to look at it and make sure, okay, like does this dialogue actually work? Once I get the letters all done, I'll set it up for pre-press and send it off to Alfonso Espinos of Studiocomix Press, who is my printer as well as my publisher. And then about a week later, I get the completed book. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's very detailed, but very
bit of a ramble. Yeah.
No, but it's very informative too. There's a lot of people who are curious about the process, as am I. It's like, some people would say, how do you make the sausage or how do you make the sandwich? But yeah. I think that's part of the mystery. You get the idea, but how do you do it is a process that changes for everybody. Everyone has their own style, but I think that's
absolutely.
Great. Now, you mentioned Studiocomix Press, and you actually exhibited with them at Fan Expo Canada, and that's where we met in Toronto. I want to ask you a little bit more about how is it working with Studiocomix Press?
Oh, it's a joy. It was, I guess before that, I had done Lucha Mystery, was it in 2017? Actually, that's not true. I did Lucha Mystery in 2010, but it was called Los Luchadores Misteriosos, and then I realized I really got to change the title because it's a lot to say in any language. So I did a first, I guess, version in 2010, and then eventually fast forward to 2017. So around 2018, I was using different printers, but most of them were like US based. I liked working with them, but I just was paying, I guess, all kinds of, when you have to ship stuff over the border was just kind of annoying. So I was like, well, I got to look for something at least kind of, within, nationally at least. So found Studiocomix Press. I liked what they had to offer. It was similar to an American printer I was working with, but it was Canadian. So that kind of helped me out. Plus their turnaround time was a lot faster. So contacted Alfonso, maybe it was 2019. And then Yeah, it's just a joy to work with, and he's very hands-on. Him and Roxy Reed, hi Roxy, and Paul Rush, just very good customer service. And I never had any problems, but if anything, like I had any discrepancy or whatever, like it was taken care of really quickly. I was using them, and then I was it around probably spring of this year. I was talking to Alfonso, and then I noticed that on the website that they were now became a publisher, and I was trying for, I guess, the past 5 years trying to find a publisher that'd be interested in carrying either Lucha Mystery or Murder City Devil. Either I get like a hard no, or I don't submit to us again, or there'd be times that they'd say yes, but we want this, that, or the other thing, and I'd get some contracts that I wasn't too fond of, so I was like, this isn't going to work for me. But with Alfonso, I was like, hey, I'm interested in publisher. He's like, done. So I was like, okay, that that was easy. So. And then I guess by the time like Toronto, I guess maybe where are we at? We're at September now. So I guess maybe about 2, 3 months ago, Alfonso was like, hey, you want to come to Toronto? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he invited me there and I was at the table and sold some books and met a lot of people, met you there. And yeah, it was a good relationship. So I'd like to see it continue.
Glad to hear. Yeah, it's definitely a great experience when you're working with a team that's positively supporting you.
Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
tremendous, especially in Canada these days. We need all the support we can get. That's for sure.
Amen. Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking about Murder City Devil and Lucha Mystery. I'm wondering, do you have any other projects on the go that you can talk about?
Oh, let's see. I'm doing just some freelance work for a book called Halloween Man, which is written by Drew Edwards. Hey, Drew. It's a good read. He's based out of Austin, Texas. I'm doing a project with some fellows in Winnipeg. Hey, Greg. And that will involve Murder City Devil. So it's like I'm just doing a Murder City Devil short story for this compilation book. And it'll fit in with the rest of the Murder City Devil continuity. I don't know. I'm debating about doing like a cartoony kind of book, like just something like Mad Magazine. Because again, like Lucha Mystery is like one style of writing I have. The drawing style is a little similar, but kind of keep it a little more lighthearted. And then Murder City Devil's a lot more serious style. With this cartoony book, I just want to have like totally stupid. So like just like really dumb jokes and like just Mad Magazine or like Cracked Magazine, just like silly stuff. Hopefully people will laugh at it. So yeah, I might give that a shot.
Great. Well, it sounds like you have a lot on the go. So
Hmm.
I'm wondering, where should people go online to find out about your current and your future projects?
Okay, they can go to my website is Psyclone Comics Studios, and that's Cyclone spelled Psyclone, like the roller coaster ride on Coney Island, the Cyclone. So it's cyclonecomicsstudios.com. That's my personal website, and they can find out all the news there. They can go to Studiocomix Press. They can find my books there. I have them available in PDF form on Global Comics, and I'm also on Instagram under Cyclone Comic Studios.
Thanks to Evan for the chat. You can discover more about Evan Quiring at cyclonecomicsstudios.com and on Instagram at cyclone_comics_studios. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations with creators about making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.